The Bucks bats just keep rolling along with a different victim on the schedule as they dominate the Cardinals 7-0. Let's talk about it next on Locked On Pirates.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. And who in the Pirates world of fandom is not feeling lucky right now? Get your butt over to FanDuel, right? Welcome to Locked On Pirates. I'm Gary Morgan. This was incredible. Incredible. 7-0. The Pirates beat up on the Cardinals. They've won their last 4 games 37-4. No National League team has done that since 1906. That run differential. It has been that long since a National League team has done that in a 4-game stretch. Unbelievable for where this offense has been all year to what they did. All 7 runs came off Eric Fetty, 6 of them in the 5th inning, where the Pirates sent 10 hitters to the plate. Really shocked the Cardinals because Fetty was rolling. And before they could get anybody even up, he was so deep in trouble. There was just nothing to be done. And then they got a lefty up, and it was just too late. I mean, it's just too late by the time they could react to what was happening to them. Everyone in the lineup had a hit. Horwitz and Reynolds had 2 each. Horwitz, a leadoff home run just to open the game, and a double later on. Could have had another one. Really stung the ball against a left-handed pitcher. Good to see there, too. First time we've seen Spencer Horwitz lead off. Pretty good performance. Interesting. It could work out, actually. He's a patient hitter. A little worried about his speed, clogging up some of the things they like to try to do on offense, especially right now. But hey, it worked today, so I'm not going to complain, right? Andrew Heaney, insane. 6.2 innings of shutout, 3 hit ball, 1 walk versus 7 Ks. He was incredible. 5 2/3 innings, he went no hit before Victor Scott broke it up. I mean, he was unhittable. What a turnaround from the last couple outings for Andrew Heaney. And Chase Shugart finished the rest, which is important because the bullpen has really stepped up, first of all, recently. But this is the second of 3 games that they're without Dennis Santana, who's on suspension for his incident in Detroit. And, you know, most of you know how this works, but the suspension model in baseball is you don't get to replace the player. So the team gets penalized just as much as the player. So we talked a little bit about, obviously yesterday's show about the Mets series and just what the Pirates have done. It's nice to be able to continue that into another series, even if only for this first game. Sure would be nice to do this again for Paul Skeens. When we talk about the rest of this series in the third segment to wrap today, we'll touch on that a little bit, but what has led to this change? Like, what are the Pirates really doing differently? I mean, I guess you could probably say it has something to do with luck. I'm sure there's a little bit of luck involved. I bet the BABIPs are up a little bit. But mostly what the Pirates are really doing, they're just barreling balls up. This is a team that Donnie Kelly had talked a few weeks ago about wanting to change the philosophy a little bit with the team's hitting approach, and they'd been working on it really since he took over. And it was an overall approach of being more aggressive at the plate, to hit something that you find attractive as soon as you see it. Don't worry about anything else. Put a good swing on a pitch you like whenever it is in the count. And then let's stop worrying about launch angle and let's focus more on line drives. Line drives, no matter where you hit them, wherever the ball is pitched, that's where you hit that line drive. If you need to get a ball to the right side and you get an opportunity, take the swing and get that ball to the right side. little things like that I think they've started to drill into their heads, and we're seeing them start to take off. This sort of big inning mentality, which really has fueled these last 4 games, this is the extreme side of everything. You shouldn't look at this and think, "Boy, I wonder if the Pirates will do that again tomorrow." This is a gift. I just told you, this sort of thing, this hasn't happened since 1906. Okay? If something hasn't happened in over 100 years, it's not something you should expect. But the way that they're approaching the offense, it is different. You can see it if you're really watching it. 1 through 9, you're seeing guys cut that swing loose a little bit more. And you're seeing a lot fewer strikeouts during this period. There's been one game, the first game against the Mets, they struck out a decent amount, but they managed to also get enough going in a couple innings to really rack those points up and get the runs home. So good stuff there, but the strikeouts were still a concern. So you kind of thought, outlier. Well, Saturday and Sunday, not so much. The strikeouts crept down. The line drives continued. The Pirates continued to be able to build on each other's performance, moving guys around the bases, not being afraid to run, bunting here and there. Pirates are doing things a little bit different. They are being coached a little bit different. And the Pirates, importantly, have given Don Kelly the freedom to make some of these changes. Changes that, frankly, we've been hearing have been murmuring complaints going on with this team for a long time, that they didn't like a lot of things in the offensive approach, something that a lot of the veterans have kind of bucked against on their own. But younger guys don't get to do that. So I think you start to see a little bit more cohesion in this lineup right now. A couple things too going on that we're probably not paying as much attention to as we should. Nick Gonzalez is kind of becoming a real figure here in this offense now. I know they're batting him clean up here. I'm not trying to get carried away with the cleanup position and all the prestige that it's supposed to carry. It's not what I'm doing. But Nick Gonzalez is a guy that I think has become somebody you want up at the plate. He got robbed tonight. He still had a good game, but he got robbed tonight on what could have easily been a double or even a triple to where he hit it. The ball tailing away from Victor Scott in center field, and he ran it down somehow. That's a double. I got to figure upwards of 90% of the time at PNC Park, and Nick Gonzalez absolutely tattooed that ball. That is a kid that is going to grow into more power. I really believe we're going to see a lot of these doubles, that sort of power from Nick Gonzalez. I think as he continues to evolve, we're going to see those transition into more home runs. And he's just got the right kind of swing. The line drive mentality is going to fit his game perfectly. I'm really, really loving where Nick Gonzalez is going. Spencer Horwitz is starting to come along. I know that he hasn't been super impressive so far, but I think it's important to note the guy was coming off surgery. He hadn't had a spring training, very brief rehab. He's back up here facing major league hitting. Had a little bit of a track record. I think we probably should have given him a little bit more benefit of the doubt. But I certainly don't think this is a guy that I'm going to want to hide in my lineup or I'm going to regret having. This trade is, I think, going to wind up looking pretty good. Maybe tomorrow we'll talk a little bit more about the revisionist history that people are practicing on some of these trade pieces that the Pirates have moved on from. All in all, though, things are starting to look right for this offense. One last note, Joey Bart did have a hit tonight, and it was key. He actually scored, one of the first runs to really start breaking away here after getting a base hit. But I think it's imperative that the Pirates start trying to push Henry Davis into more situations. We need to see him, in my mind, catching 4 or 5 days a week. You have got to answer this question and answer it for once and all. Figure out what you have in Henry Davis. Let him have an opportunity to hit a few days in a row. Let him see if he can build on things, especially like after he goes 4 for 4. I, I want to see Henry get back out there, and I understand the logic here because he's not going to start, he's going to start tomorrow with Paul Skeens, but I'd like to think that you could have let him go 3 games in a row and let Bart start the Wednesday contest, something along those lines. I'd like to see them put a little bit more effort into getting Henry evolved a bit. That's all. And the only way to get him evolved is to get him more involved. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, I want to talk about a couple promotions the Pirates made of some minor leaguers that we've been discussing a little bit on the show, but let's discuss them in a little bit more detail, shall we? You ever check your bank account and wonder where all my money went? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you can stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save more. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. All right. Hey, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. Hey, smash that subscribe button for me. We've really, really been skyrocketing this last week. Maybe because the Pirates bats have been. Keep adding to the totals though, everybody. I really appreciate it. And the word of mouth. I see some of you out there on social media telling people to check out the show. I appreciate it. I may not comment on all of them, but when I catch them, I'm trying to make sure that I really appreciate it. So keep it up. Thank you very much. So the Pirates made a couple more moves in the minors. They are not being shy about this. They really aren't. Esmeralyn Valdez to Altoona. We've been calling for this one for a minute here. If you haven't really familiarized yourself with him, I can't say that you're crazy. He didn't have a whole lot of people talking about him entering this season, which is funny because, he led his league in home runs last year with 22 there in Bradenton, and he hit 226. I think the K rate probably scared a lot of people, hovered around 35% last year. And, we've seen that movie before. So I think a lot of people just, here's another one of those guys who can hit a bunch of home runs, but he strikes out way too much. Well, this year for Greensboro, and he spent his entire season in Greensboro until he got this call up, which I should say is still not official, although it has been reported and I've had independently confirmed. So I think it's going to be happening here. He's done all of this in Greensboro, but he's already got 20 home runs. We aren't even to the All-Star break yet. And on top of that, he's hitting 303. I'm not 100% sure that the average is sustainable, but if only because I haven't seen him do it yet. But this kid's 21 years old. Who knows what's there, His K rate is down. His average is up. He's opening eyes really quickly in the system. I normally would tell you question the power because it happened in Greensboro. And if he were left-handed, I might really make a big deal out of it just because of Greensboro's ballpark. But right-handed, it's a pretty fair park, I would say. And he's hitting no doubters anyway. These aren't wall scrapers. It's not like he's playing in gale force winds or something, blowing straight out. He's hitting some good home runs. Yes, he has one famous clip of hitting one off of a position player that came in. It was a big Eufus ball, but 19 of his home runs have been 100% legit, okay? If you want to know something really nuts about Esmeralin, he's not even one of the Pirates' top 30 prospects. This is one of those guys that I I would have to imagine most fans kind of roll their eyes when they hear about. A 16-year-old that gets signed. Geez, he was signed in 2021 at this point. And you should take that as like, holy crap, 2021, and he's just reaching double A now in 2025. So that's 4 years later, right? That's kind of like fast for a prospect of from the international, if only because he's still facing competition that's probably a little bit older than him at this level. You figure this is where a lot of the college kids wind up, like the 22 and 23-year-olds are probably here by year 2. Year 1 maybe if they're like a top draft pick type. So he's facing a lot of, competition that he's going to be younger than. Termar Johnson, same situation, right? And he was a high school pick, so 18 years old, goes through the system. He's been facing older competition the whole time. Well, this is a good challenge for Esmeralin. And this is definitely a much more fair ballpark. Altoona is no joke. I have no doubt he's going to continue to hit home runs because the pitching in double A, it's hit or miss. Some's really good, some's really not good. But I think this will challenge him a little bit more. We'll see what happens with the K rate here. That's the thing to pay attention to as you go through here. He's, like I said, he's keeping it hanging around 30%, and that's okay. You'd like to see him creep that down around like 25 because it's kind of conventional wisdom that when you make the jump from the minors to the majors, your K rate's probably going to jump 5 to 7% just as course. The pitchers are better, the velocity's higher, the spin rates are better. There's an awful lot of reasons why things are more difficult in the majors. I don't think this is rocket science, right? This shouldn't send you screaming analytics to the hilltops and thinking that I'm worshiping Satan here by telling you some secret formula. It just stands to reason if your K rate is high in the minors, which 30% is high, it's probably going to creep up to 35, 37% in the majors. And then you're what? That's right, a right-handed Jack Sawinski that you're not going to want to deal with, So there's a fine line here. I can't say that I'm 100% sold that Esmeralin is going to be a major league player. I mean, I think he's certainly got interesting power potential that we definitely need to see more of. He's in the right place if he goes to Altoona, as reported. If he goes to Altoona and performs, then yes, he's got every opportunity to really impact this team. He's a first baseman and an outfielder. He's been playing a lot more first base. Outfield, I haven't seen him play a whole lot out there. I'll have to ask my friend Anthony how he thinks he plays out there. But they've been having him play first base and DH a lot more often than the outfield. So my guess would be probably not so shiny. That's something they'll probably have to work on too if he's going to get a spot up here, because I do believe if Spencer Horwitz stays healthy, that's kind of blocked up for a minute. And the other thing about an international signing like this, he signs at 16 years old. Well, by major league rule, before you have to protect the guy from the Rule 5 draft, if you've drafted them under the age of 18, you get 5 years of minor league development before you have to protect them from being able to be selected. Well, a guy that's hitting this kind of power, let's say he finishes this year with, he's already got 20. So let's I hate to do this sort of crazy thing, but is it crazy to say 35? Maybe. You figure this is probably the last year the Pirates have where they don't have to protect him in the Rule 5 draft. So progressing him to Double A now makes a ton of sense. you would have a little bank of double A time, might even be able to get away with starting him in double A next year. And then you don't have to make the roster move to get him on the 40 man until sometime in 2026 if you want to protect him from the Rule 5. And at that point, he's probably AAA bound if you're going to have that discussion. And it makes a ton of sense to add him to the 40 man at that point. So you could be talking about a 2026 arrival time for Esmerlin if he continues. Again, got to work on that K rate a little bit. There's a few things in there that he's got to iron out and a few things that just need proven out. There's a reason that he's not one of the top 30 prospects. I think that'll probably change. They'll reshuffle it and he'll wind up in it again. But for now, he's not. And I just think it takes a little bit more than just recognition. It's unfair the way that these prospects fall down these lists because there's nothing they can do to prove to anyone they're anything until sometimes they're 18, 19 years old. And even then they're playing like in the FCL Pirates, or the DSL Pirates, or like you're not really getting into the organization necessarily until you've been around for a few years already. So it's hard for them to really prove themselves. And when they get picked up, sometimes they get tossed on these prospect lists like up in the top 10, and they may not see like an actual baseball field that has video taken of it that you can watch for 2-3 years. So and they get out of sight, out of mind. They drop off these lists, nobody hears about them, and then they pop up like Esmerlin is doing right now. Another thing that happened, Esmerlin Valdez and Connor Griffin are going to be representing the Pirates in the MLB All-Star Futures game. That's going to be pretty cool to see. I'll make sure I tune in for that one. Connor Griffin has been super impressive too. And one more promotion. It looks like Omar Alfonso is going to be promoted to Altoona. The youngsters just continue to push their way closer to the big club. The Greensboro club that just got that quick infusion with Connor Griffin coming up. It looks like you're probably going to be looking at Axial Plaz getting moved up from Bradenton. So the lower levels continue to push up, and Altoona is going to probably start strengthening as they start absorbing some of those players that have been really performing in Greensboro. The lower minors of the Pirates right now are super interesting. They really are. Greensboro and Bradenton have been a lot of fun. Altoona is going to start getting fun. So if you haven't already made your pilgrimage to Altoona, like I try to do a couple times every year, let's get over there because it's going to start getting fun. I really am looking forward to it, especially if some of the pitching really starts to come up from that lower level. Like Xander Muth is a guy I just can't wait to start really seeing moving. I think he's one of the next big top prospect arms coming up here that I'm super excited about. When we come back, we're going to talk about the rest of this Cardinals series and some things we can expect to see. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball, golf, or even soccer, FanDuel is the best way to make every game more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling with FanDuel? You can get in on the game with your friends, getting a little sunburn at the beach. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. New to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today and visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. Hey, if you don't already do it, please do check out MLB Game Night on the Locked On MLB Network. It is a great show. I love it. Recap of the entire league every single night. I listen to it. It's my first listen every morning. I know I cheat on my own show and I listen to MLB Game Night every morning. It's just a snapshot of the entire league, and I love it. I love it. Personalities are great too. The insights are cool. I always like hearing what people not in my market think about what's going on in my market. So good stuff. Oh, the Cardinals. We got 2 more games against the hated Redbirds, and tomorrow's matchup is Andre Palante, who sports a 4.43 ERA and a 1.35 WHIP, and he is 5-4, going against our Lord and Savior Paul Skeens, and he's of course 4-7. The Pirates never score runs for Paul Skeens, but can they make it 5 games in a row that they overperform at the plate and just bury the nail on that stupid thing? Can we please get Paul Skeens some run support tomorrow or tonight and call it a day? His stats are crazy. You guys all know them. 2.12 ERA, 0.91 WHIP. He's just lights out. He's probably going to start the All-Star game. I can't wait till they announce that. Let's see. The next game after that is going to be a tougher matchup. Sonny Gray. Let's start with Mitch Keller. Mitch Keller's going for the Pirates. So they've gotten back to Paul Skeens and Mitch Keller back to back. And Mitch Keller got his first win in quite some time in his last outing. It's when the Pirates started this offensive explosion. Let's see if he can be the recipient of it again. He's been, typically him. 3.90 ERA, 122 WHIP. He's been a hell of a lot better than his 2-10 record, and I think y'all know that, at least the honest brokers out there. Sonny Gray going for the Cardinals. What did he do his last time out? Oh, all he did is just, toss a complete game against the Guardians and struck out 11. Only allowed 1 hit. He's got a career ERA, and this is from the series preview on my site, written by one of our fabulous writers over there at Steel City Pirates. He has a career 1.47 ERA at PNC Park. That's coming from 3 starts. But let's see if Brian Reynolds can do some damage against him. He has hit 292 with 3 home runs against Gray in his career, and he's really seeing the ball well right now too. It would be great if the Pirates could go ahead and finish off this series strong too. I'm not going to say they have to sweep them. That would be beautiful. But if you can start stringing together some series wins here, I'm not saying that the Pirates are going to change course and all of a sudden be super buyers at the deadline or something, or they're all of a sudden not going to want to trade all their rentals or things like that. But I do think that there's a little bit of good that can come from finding our way into believing in a little bit of this young talent and some of the existing talent too. Brian Hayes' contract looks a hell of a lot more appetizing if he's hitting about 260, doesn't it? If he's hitting around 260, or it's easy to like him in this last little stretch of games. But just for a season, if that kid's hitting 260 and contributing what he does with runners in scoring position and the kind of defense he plays, yeah, it's less attractive to trade him than it is, when he's barely doing anything with the bat and you literally think you could replace him with Jared Triolo and not feel it. There's 2 sides to that coin with Brian Hayes, but right now, boy, it's really hard to see it as a good idea to move on from a guy like that, as much as I've been a proponent of it. Let's see what the Pirates can do to finish this series strong. I love the way they started it. Cardinals have come into this series hot. Very much so, unlike the Mets. So it's a different opponent. But sometimes, man, when you're as hot as the Pirates are at the plate, the opponent barely matters. You're just doing your thing. It's not even about seeing everything as beach balls right now. It's just really, it feels like believing in the next guy and doing exactly what you need to do to get your individual job done, and things are just going right. They really are. You need to pull a ball to get a guy moved over. Well, it happens to be a seeing eye single when you're going really well. And it gets the job done and gets you on base. You drop down a sacrifice to move a player over. Well, you end up legging it out and getting a single out of it. When it's really going well, that's how it is. But these principles they're laying down, if they continue to carry them forward, they'll net them more offense. They really will, collectively. Just don't know how long we're going to get to see it before they start dropping like flies at the trade deadline. It's an interesting time to be a Pirate fan. Didn't expect a run like this, quite honestly. What indication would you have it was coming? Hey, hope for more of the same tonight. We'll be back at you tomorrow morning with another new Locked On Pirates.